It would be my pleasure. Would
Go
you
for it.
mind? I've been waiting
That
for this all
was just
day.
a dose of friendly welcome, that's all. That's how we roll.
So a huge welcome to this, our Tuesday at 12 p.m. keynote, Tuesday the 25th of January at the Love Tutoring Festival 2. We could not be more delighted and excited to welcome Sharon Cawley, the Director of Connexus Tuition Franchising, to the stage. The title today is How to Succeed as a Tutor with a Pathological Fear of Sales, Accountants and the Taxman. Julia and Sharon and I had a good laugh coming up with this title, had good fun preparing this event, because we know it's going to be so relatable and so impactful for so many of you. If you don't know Sharon already, Sharon is a true pioneer of the partnership between tutors, teachers and schools that, as we know, has never been more important than in 2022. And started her career way back in 1994 as an English teacher. And today Sharon runs the highly influential Connexus Tuition and Connexus Tuition franchising business as well, which will have provided approximately 120,000 hours of tuition to children across the UK from September of last year to July of this year, 2022, which is close to 40,000 pupils. And many of you will know Sharon not even through Connexus Tuition, but through the hugely successful Facebook group for ex-teachers, Life After Teaching, Exit the Classroom and Thrive. The link for that group will be in the chat. There are a vast number of members on there, and it's one of the most useful and active groups that I've ever been part of. So living in the northwest of England, Sharon is a mum of 2 children, as is mentioned here, still not got over the removal of Mice and Men from the GCSE English Literature course. I'm sure there are many of you who agree with Sharon there. A massive thank you to Nudge Education, who are the lead sponsors of the entire festival, who've been providing great support to us over the last 3 months or so, and also to the tuition agency, The Profs, who you may have heard from earlier. The founder, Richard Evans, will be talking later on this afternoon, and they have helped us to deliver this entire day. So without them, this all that we've seen here would not be possible. But really, it's only the only thing to do left is to hand over to Sharon, who will be taking you on here for the next hour or so.
Thank you very kindly. I believe we've got a PowerPoint that you can start to put up. I've gone all posh and gone all high tech and done some visuals. So thank you so much. And I am always humbled whenever I'm asked to speak anywhere or to be involved in anything in education, but never more so than within tutoring, because what Julia alluded to, when I first started tutoring, there was no community attached to this industry, this service, this aspect of education at all. In fact, we were the poor relation. We were somebody that was never talked about within a classroom. Children didn't want to tell the teachers that they had tutors. Schools took it as a slight if there was ever any tutoring to do with the school. So to actually be involved in a community now that celebrates tutoring, it's phenomenal. And in many ways, tutoring is such a crucial part of education. We're like the A&E of education. People come to us when something has gone wrong. We don't always get the best bits. We get the children with the lowest self-esteem. We get the mums and dads who are fraught. So in many ways, we're part of a community that are like the little boats at Dunkirk that come in, but yet we were the most under-recognised and undervalued. So to actually have something like this, to have a national tutoring programme, we are really riding a crest of the wave at the moment where tutoring is concerned. And we can talk about education, we can talk about platforms, we can talk about so many things to do with tutoring. But you're a business. You're actually fundamentally a business. And your service provision happens to be your subject, or it can be the skill that you are tutoring in. But fundamentally, whether you are a sole trader, a limited company, whether you are an owner operator, whether you have got tutors working for you and with you, you're a business. And as much as we are great at what we do where education is concerned, there's parts of that business that when I first started, I used to have a pathological fear of, and actually a physical reaction. The thought of a Facebook page with my name on it, the thought of my face on anything to do on a website, my palms would start sweating. The shame that was attached to self-promotion, and then to actually put a price point on myself and to actually part with money, this was something that was, to me, not something that came easy at all. So then what happened was, I then started to think about, well, how do I pay tax? Because that's not how I'm used to be doing. So everything to do with business was something that was actually quite a big block when it came to starting my business and then scaling my business as well. There's nothing I don't know about how to get a kid moved up at GCSE English. When I first started, the Of Mice and Men coursework on Curly's wife, absolutely could teach that till the cows come home. Whilst stuffing payments and money into the magic porridge pot, we used to call it, in the kitchen, and I didn't have a clue where money was coming from and where money wasn't coming from. But actually, I found that I was in a position where I'd got a great commodity. So my story is really simple where progression is concerned. I hemorrhaged out of the classroom in 2013 and my marriage at the same time. The house was repossessed and I was on income support. You don't get much more of a rock bottom than that to clunk you down and be able to stand up. And actually, tutoring became my lifeblood. It was what was putting food on the table at the time. So I started driving around houses in an evening, going into really lovely environments where mum was cooking the tea and I was shoved in a side room on a one-to-one with a kid. Then I moved to making them come to my house on a one-to-one. Then I moved from grouping them round the kitchen table. Then I moved that group into a venue that suited me. Then I scaled within that venue. And then from scaling within that venue, added multiple nights. Then I franchised the model and I sold franchises across the UK. So much so that today we've got 1,000 hours worth of tutoring happening. Okay, 1,000 hours worth of tutoring happening today across our network. About 3,000 children are being served at some point or another, either privately or through the National Tutoring Programme by a Connexus tutor. And that's been done by somebody whose palms used to sweat and who would walk out of that mother's house without the £30 in her hand because she was too ashamed to say to the mum, "You haven't paid me." And that is a reality in many ways when it comes to the job we do, because we're brilliant at the educational aspect of it. But actually, when it comes to that hard-nosed, can I have my money, love? It doesn't come naturally to us. Promoting ourselves on social media doesn't come naturally to us. So what I want to do today, I want to walk you through how I did it anecdotally, because I think sometimes that's the best way, just to share your experiences. I want to focus on key light bulb moments for me that I hope will help you understand how my awareness was raised to certain things I was doing. Because when your awareness is raised to the hardwire and the beliefs that you've got and the shift in mindset, the minute you become aware of something and there's a light bulb moment, I always refer to it as the toothpaste into the tube. You can never put it back in again. You can never, ever go back to how you were before when you become aware of something that you're doing and how you're going to shift it. I'm going to talk about strategies I used. I'd like a nice Q&A because I've always got a brain to pick and I'll give it you straight. But more than anything, just a walkthrough of how things can be done with some clear tweaks and some mindset shifts that you can actually remain a sole trader who's rammed. You can be a teacher trying to come out of the classroom and build a business. You can be that sole trader who's rammed who wants to scale. There are so many different ways to do it. But let's go back to this mindset that I had, this pathological fear of selling and selling myself. I was never Del Boy. I was never the kid who talks about, yeah, well, I was remember when I was 8 in St Mary's and John's and I was selling juicy fruit on the playground. That was never me. I was in the classroom, okay? I was in the classroom cutting stuff out with Mrs. Robinson, probably doing her head in because she wanted a break, but that's who I was at school. And I loved school. I loved the bells and the timetable and knowing to be told where I had to be at a certain time. I loved all that. So I had to ask myself, why would I struggle with selling and selling myself? So Ludo, I think I've pinpointed where the problem started. And I'm going to go back to childhood and I'm going to blame Vera, my mother, who passed last year, but I still argue with her on a daily basis, believe me, and I blame my mother because this was what happened to me in the 80s. Can we have the next slide, please, Ludo? The car boot sale. I don't know if any of you are aware of what a car boot sale is. And I think it's something that transcends the UK and it transcends the Northwest down south. But in the 80s, that meant that any well-meaning housewife could take what we had at the time, which was an Austin Allegro estate, gold. It was like a golden hearse. And you could pack the back of that boot, I'm telling you now, with all the tat and all the stuff we didn't want in our house. And we used to have to go on a Sunday to Haydock Park Racecourse, get up at some ungodly hour like 4 o'clock in the morning. She'd get 2 pasteboard tables out and she would sell. And my mother loved it. She loved it. She had a price point for everything. And then they'd come up and they'd say, how much do you want for that kettle? She'd pick it up and £4 would be on it. And then, will you take 2? Well, £3.50. And this haggling stuff would go on. I'd be dying. I would be in the back seat of the car, dying a death that my mother was selling our second-hand junk and loving it. And she'd go away and go, he's got a bargain in. He's got a bargain there with that hedgerows tea service. And I could see the joy she was getting, but I was in pain. And then she'd do something like, because my Auntie Mary used to come as well, and they'd leave me in charge of the stall. It was hideous, because they'd come along and they'd say, how much do you want for? And there'd be a price on it that I know my mother had inflated. And then they go, will you take £1.50? And I go, yeah, just please go away. And I'd hold my hand out. And she'd come back with a cup of tea and she'd know immediately what had been gone. And she'd ask me how much I'd sold. Oh, it's horrendous. She's put things in the Newton and Goulburn News. You'd get 15 free words that you could sell. People had been coming to the house, taking television stands, and also somebody put in the chat, Facebook Marketplace. Oh my Lord. She was here if I ever let her near it, I don't think she'd have had a stick of furniture left, because she loved selling. And I really, really hated it. And it made me feel embarrassed, because she was selling what I perceived as our rubbish to strangers. I wasn't being precious or anything. It was genuine. I didn't like it. So I'd be sat in the back of the car reading Goodnight, Mr. Tom, or something brilliant. Like I'd be away in World War II, whilst all this melee was happening behind me. And I could see my mum was getting a massive amount of pleasure from self-promotion, from selling, and I didn't. But that didn't matter, because I was going down a conventional route. I was never going to be entrepreneurial, because I did the sixth form. English language, English literature, history, general studies, which I think I failed because I don't think anybody ever went to that lesson. Then I went to university and studied English literature. Then I did a PGCE. Then I got my first job at the Grange in Runcorn. So I didn't need this world. I didn't need any of that. Can we have the next slide, please, Ludo? Because this was me. This is the photograph that I love. This whole school photograph now, half of them are dead. But if you have a look down, I'm the third row down. I've got a blue blazer on and I'm stood next to Rachel Charters, who was wearing a salmon top that you can still see now. And I loved that staff photograph because that was where I was at home. I've got one of my form group. Okay, so I've got one as a form tutor with the kids from the class. And they put like a black carpet board at the bottom, and they'd stuck these letters in that said Grange Comprehensive 1995. Love it. 7D. Just that was me at my happiest. And what happened was the 15th of the month, irrespective of how many hours I worked, I did not have to do, I didn't have to walk into the bursar's office and ask for my wages. It got deposited into my bank account. I didn't get overtime. So no matter how many hours I worked, I didn't have to tot it up and send out an invoice. I just got paid. I literally got paid, and there was no transaction. I didn't look at I didn't have to recruit the children in the class in front of me. I didn't have to do any sales. I didn't have to promote myself with a CV. Kids were handed to me, and I provided a service that was done in a very taken for granted kind of way, and the money was just something that dropped in. And I was so happy at that time because it's all I ever wanted to be. I wanted to be a teacher. Going back to helping Mrs. Robinson cut things out, that was me. Wall displays, handwriting my registers. I loved it. It was the best time to be a teacher. It was the best time to be an English teacher. Yes, you didn't have learning walks. Someone came in and observed you every now and then eventually they maybe started to have a look at your books, but it was never anything like what it's evolved into now. So at that moment in time, that was where I belonged. I also got married in the late 1990s and had 2 children. I don't know where my 30s went. They went marking books. They went and shifted because I became the main breadwinner. And they went in like a haze. I didn't have any opportunity to really do any self-development, to reflect on what was going on, because I was in this like massive hamster wheel that I had to get up. I had to get the kids dressed. I had to get out. I did more between the hours of 8 and 8:30 in school than most people did throughout a day who were in another profession. And it was going in a blur. And that person who stood looking out there was not the person who left. And by 2013, the marriage had gone, the job had gone, and I hemorrhaged out of both in the same month. Literally hemorrhaged out. And as such, everything I'd ever worked for, the marital home went to repossession. I had no job. I went into rented accommodation with the children and ended up signing on. Now, I'd changed school since then a couple of times, and I was ahead a year in Warrington. So I was in Warrington Job Centre opposite the Riverside Retail Park, signing on with kids who I'd been shouting at 2 years earlier, going, get off the corridor and get your shirt tucked in. So by 2013, I was pretty broken. Can we have the next slide, please, Ludo? And that was me. And I don't even recognize me on that photo. Sat in a church hall, trying to get some kind of promo shot together for my tutoring business. I'm broken. I know I'm broken. And what I'm doing at that time is I'm driving around in an evening because I've recognized something. I can work in the day, I can do some supply, I know what my bottom line is, I know what I need to bring in, but I'm really, really good at tutoring. That's actually my commodity. I'm really good at English language, and I'm really good at English language GCSE. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what one-to-one tutors did. This was before online. This was before any of that stuff. You drove round and you knocked on a door and you went in, and your time slot might have been 5 till 6 on tea time. It got to about 5:10 and she was trying to get the kid organised at the table. She was chit-chatting away. You then did your hour till 6:10. That meant you were late for your next one that you had to drive to. She was keeping you talking at the door. You'd drive to the next one. The kid would be late again. She'd invariably not gone to the bank and drawn out your £30, so you'd driven off with no money. So actually, what was happening at that point was, I was thinking I was doing 3 hours after school driving round, which actually turned into 4.5 hours. I was paying for childcare, or my mum was looking after the children. By the time I'd added petrol and my time, yes, I might have £90 in my hand, but it had probably cost me more than that. And I was probably doing it for about £10 an hour. And it was getting painful because I'd stand there at the door. Oh, Sharon, I forgot to go to the bank. I'm sorry, can I sort you out next week? And I'm thinking, no, you can't sort me out next week. And I came home, and on one night, none of them had paid me. And I was too embarrassed to ask for that £30 whilst I was stood in a house that was in Hale Barnes. The nails that she'd had done that week was worth more. Her roots were worth more than that. And I'd look around the house, there'd be 4 children. She'd be talking about centre parks. She'd be talking about all of these things. And I couldn't ask her for £30. And I drove home that night with nothing. And I got angry with myself. And I thought, that's not happening again. So I got a text message and I just said, good evening. Yet again, and I thought, I'll take this one on the chin. I have come away with no money. My fault. May I suggest next week, please have the money ready in an envelope and pay me before the session starts. Thank you, Sharon. Press send to all of them. And you know what? They all apologized and they said, I'm so sorry. And when I walked in the next time, they handed me an envelope without me even asking. And I had a moment. I thought, boundaries. You've not set your boundaries. You're coming across as not bothered about the £30 and it'll be all right for next week. But the minute you've told them it matters, the minute you've got angry with yourself and said to yourself, well, do you know what? I wouldn't go to the hairdressers and say, can I pay you next time? I won't sit in a pub and say, thank you very much for my dinner. Can I pay you next time I come in? No, shame on me because I've not set my boundaries. And what's more, I suddenly realised that they didn't want to lose me and they apologised. And I suddenly thought, oh, I'm valued here. Well, that was the moment the toothpaste came out the tube and I couldn't get it back in again. I'm valued. Right, let's have a look at this driving round nonsense. The next text message that went out was, hiya, just to let you know, I'm getting more busy now. Your slot is between 5 and 6. The clock starts the minute I arrive. If you want 15-minute chat with me at the end, I'll finish it 45 minutes. Bang! I knocked on the door. That kid was skull dragged from his bedroom and absolutely brought down to me because they were paying. And I suddenly thought, they're paying for an hour. What I've got here, my commodity isn't GCSE. My precious commodity isn't the fact I know of mice and men inside out, or I'm engaging with kids and the kids love me. That's not my commodity. My commodity is my time. I am charging by the hour and they're getting an hour and a half from me. What am I doing? Because if it's £30 an hour, it's 50p a minute. The minute I go outside of that, I'm running out and the clock's changing. So another more Saul on the road to Damascus moment was, this is about my time. I'm paying childcare, I'm paying petrol, and I know they value me. So this is how I moved them from driving round to my house. I gave them notice. Just to let you know, because of childcare constraints, I will no longer be able to come to your house. If Luke would still like me as a tutor, his slot can still be 5 till 6 on a Monday, but you will have to bring him to my house. Oh, well, Armageddon. Sharon, we're 20 minutes away. bloody tell me about it, love, because I've been sat driving that drive for the last 3 months. However, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say to you, you've got, oh, I think someone needs to go on mute. I think we've got loose women in background. And yeah, it's a 20-minute drive. It has been for me. But don't worry, I'm not going to leave you in the lurch. I'll give you 3 weeks notice. And what's more, I'll give you some contacts of mine who still do drive round. No, Sharon, he wants you. Yeah, no. So come to my house. And I was prepared to lose 50% of them. No problem. I'll lose them because I'll fill them in. And you know what? My kids are now in the living room, and all right, it's a case of no, you can't come in. But I'm in the kitchen, and now instead of £90 that was actually 60, I can actually fit 4 in, 4 till 8, keep popping out in between. That's £120, that's 600 a week. That's 2,400 because I've just got kids coming to my house, as opposed to the 1,200 driving around. If you don't like it, don't come, because actually I'm putting a price on my time. They filled. And then I've got a waiting list. So this was my next, oh my word. Hiya, I've now made you drive for 20 minutes, but I've now got a bombshell for you. I'm going to create groups because I don't do one-to-one anymore. But here's the thing, it's not a problem. I'll give you some notice, but he likes one-to-one, Sharon. Yeah, no, but I'm not doing that anymore. So if you want, I'll do you in a group. If he wants one-to-one, you're going to have to find another tutor, because I don't do that anymore. I don't travel to houses. I don't do one-to-one. If he wants me, that's what I do. And I will give you notice to make changes. And if you don't like it, I am going to stand my ground, because now I've got 4 kids around that kitchen table. And those 4 children are earning me £80 an hour, which is actually 320 a week, which is actually 1,280 a month. Sorry, a week. I'm on £5 a month around the kitchen table, and I was all going in the magic porridge pot. Can't even begin to tell you the chaos that the finances were. I'll come on to that in a minute. My house burnt down, I was dead. And then I've still got 5 nights a week, kids coming and going, neighbours loving me. Can you imagine? Cars run. Thank God I lived opposite a lovely pub in Cheshire, because the parents just used to sit there, have a drink, take the children home. It became something that they did. And I want to scale again. So here we go. The next thing I'm going to have to say to them is, right, I'm not doing it at my house anymore. I'm doing it at a venue. And in that venue, I'm going to do them in groups of 6, but I'm also going to offer maths as well. So there's going to be me and a maths tutor, still going to charge you £30, but we're going to swap halfway through. Okay, I'm going to swap halfway through. And then you can pick them up, and I'm going to put loads of tutors in that. So can I have the next slide, please, Ludo? So I booked the church hall, and I banged a couple of tutors in with me, and we piled a load of kids in together. And every time 2 tutors sat down and had 12 children, I earned £300 after I paid them. Okay, earned £300. So actually on a Monday night between 3:30 and 5 and 5:30, I could take out £1,000. They were swarming in, walking from school. Perfect. Group tuition in a venue was born. I used to sit, get this, at the door, kids' names, paid per week in cash. Can you believe this? You got your money, love? No, I'll put you down on the owings. I had an owings column. Some kids were worth more to me alive than dead with the amount that they owed me, because I still hadn't systemized it. I was still stopping in the car, taking down kids' names. Hiya, Gail, no problem. What's his name? Year 10, Lim. Lose that pad. Kids would turn up and say, "Hey, you spoke to me, mum." Crackers. Absolutely crackers. If you go on the next slide. You wait, Ludo, there you go. That's how it looked. They were the groups. All sat round Monday night. My kids are now in there. My kids are actually being tutored. Okay. Here's the interesting. And then I did it again on a Tuesday. Then I did it again on a Wednesday in Newton, so I could go and see my mum. Filled halls, exam focused, not a problem at all. And no more they need you, Sharon, because those tutors were trained by me. They were Sharon standard, how to be engaging with kids, how to be exam focused. Okay, here's an interesting one for you. And it was only when I was sorting through this, it was hilarious. Give us the next slide, Ludo. See this photo, right? I ran a tuck shop, made a fortune on the tuck shop. Seriously, could make 120 a week on that, no problem at all. Used to go to B&M Bargains, pack everything in. You have a look at that, right? That's my son and his mate. The mate, Charlie Hughes, I mean, they're 1920 now, but Charlie Hughes was entrepreneurial. He asked me for a cut in of that tuck shop. Charlie Hughes. He said, "Sharon, if I get the if I go and get the shopping and everything to save you doing it, can I have a cut?" Charlie Hughes sorted it. Look at my lad, hands by his side, mortified, thinking, "Mother, please, why am I serving these older children?" He was devoed. It was me at the car boot. It is nice to know that the cycle of abuse has continued down the ages, and that I'm looking at him and didn't even realize I'm destroying my own child. So that's what was happening. I'd gone from around the kitchen table, I'd gone from driving round into my house, grouping them, putting them together in a church hall. And you know what? I still made massive amounts of mistakes. There was no business acumen coming in, because quite frankly, what happened was it was just evolving around me beautifully and organically, but chaotically. So much so, can we have the next slide, please, Ludo? This was my attempt at branding. I'll give you a minute, first one in the chat, to spot why I wasted 70 quid on that banner. Yeah. If you are selling tuition and promoting it, make sure you know how to spell tuition. You know, I was making mistakes along the way, left, right and centre. But we were at Lynn Baptist Church. It was just, that became one of the best marketing techniques I ever had, that. And it was just like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing? But what I realised I had to do, and if we can just have the next slide, Ludo, I had to move from the classroom to the boardroom. I had to take the brilliance of tuition. I had to take everything that made it amazing and put it into a business, and actually realise that all of this brilliance would come crashing down around my ears if I didn't get this sorted. So if we can just stop the slideshow now, Ludo, and I'll come back into the group. So what I did was I went to my accountant, and I went to my accountant with the shoe boxes of receipts and everything, and cash and payments, and things were still being done by backs and check and cash. And he just went, "Right, stop. You need to go VAT registered, because you're turning over more than 85 grand a year." I'm like, Jesus, I didn't, what? He's like, "You are going to be your blockage, and you are the weakest link within this business, Sharon. Let's have a look at your system." My accountant, Phil Wellesby, sat with me, and he went, "Right, what's the most important commodity you have?" And I knew the answer to that question. It's my time. He said, "Can I ask you how long it takes to enroll a parent, to invoice a parent, to..." I said, "Well, I send them out an email, then I attach an invoice, and then I give them the bank details, then I go into the bank." He said, "Right, systemize everything." put a system in place and automate this business from start to finish. And it's not hard. Go and find some decent software that means when you put that phone down, you push back. Like, what do you mean? Go to this link and enroll. The parent has to find the link and enroll. Sign up to this payment system and we will take the money from you. Push back everything you are doing so that you are not the manual link along the way, because that's why kids are turning up. I remember one occasion, I'm leaving at the end of the year, and a year 10 parent comes up to me and she gives me about £800 in an envelope because she's had 2 kids with me. And I'm like, thanks. She said, you've never asked me for payment. I'm like, right, okay. Wow. £800 in an envelope. And I go in the car, kids are howling, laughing. I'm like, we are going out for tea tonight, kids. I'm not cooking. And Jamie, harbinger of doom, the one who I was forced on the tuck shop, and he went, yeah. And how many more are there? I'm like, right, get in, beans on toast. You burst my bubble. But he was right. What are you doing? You don't know who you've got. There's no terms and conditions in place. You need to become software based. So I then went about my business. I knew I'd got a good business model and I had to make it slicker. So I had a portal built. I paid about 2 or 3 grand and I invested some money and they could enroll from my website. You don't need to do that. That's too archaic. I will give you the best way to do it in a minute. We started using Go Cardless. Putting parents on Go Cardless changed the business because I was no longer expecting them to pay in. PayPal, they've got to pay in. Backs, they've got to pay in. I needed a system that took, and it's direct debit. I needed to put my parents on direct debits. And actually, the direct debit is set up that nobody sits down at Connexus now until they've paid. And if that direct debit is cancelled, then there's your red flag, ding, 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 ding. Somebody's leaving. It's not a problem. So having an automated enrolment system, I'm going to give a shout out to them now because this is who we use. We use Tutor Cruncher. Tutor Cruncher is 40 quid a month, right? Tutor Cruncher allows your parents to enroll, tutors to enroll, all your safeguarding docs can be kept there. Theon owes me one for this. Tutor Cruncher allows you to invoice and send credit notes to parents. Tutor Cruncher does everything. And you literally say, thank you very much, here's your link, enroll. Kid goes straight into your register. You can do your calendar. You can work out your profit and loss. The other thing we did was we used Go Cardless and we used Xero as an accountancy tool. So we used Go Cardless, we used Xero, we used Tutor Cruncher, and we used a great thing called Dext, D-E-X-T, that you can photograph your receipts and it reconciles. It does this magical stuff that I know nothing about, but more than anything, from the minute a parent phones to the minute that child sits down, whether it's a one-to-one, in a group, whatever, there is a streamlined and automated process. I moved out a couple of weeks ago and needed a couple of months ago, and my cleaners wouldn't travel to where I've moved to. Not that I've moved anywhere rough or anything like that. It was just too far out. So I booked with a cleaning company. No problem at all, Sharon. What is it you need? When do you need it? So what I need is, I need 2 hours, but I only want one cleaner because I only want 1 hour of my time. No problem at all. Here you go. And they sent me immediately on DocuSign or signable something or other, my terms and conditions that I was to sign. The next thing they sent me was my information, my name, my address, my requirements, everything. The next thing they sent me was a Go Cardless link. And now my payment gets taken Go Cardless. I get a text reminding me of when the clean is. This is a cleaning company, okay, that's round the corner from me. And they are so slick. And then what they'll do is every 6 weeks, they'll send me a text message with a link. If you're happy with us, leave us a review. and it links. What? This is what you should be applying to your businesses. If you're any good, you can put kids around a kitchen table. If you are any good, you can fill a church hall. But what you need is, you need a business model that supports the infrastructure of your business, because otherwise you become chaotic. So you look at software, do not be frightened. It's an app. Apps are amazing. And I packaged that business, me and Phil Wellesby. I went across to the Wirral and I met with a franchise strategist, because my sister's got a Stagecoach franchise, dance, music and drama. I'm English, maths and science. Packaged it, put a price point on it, sold the lot. Buy a Connexus tuition, you get year 5 of me. She bought the first one. Franchise strategist bought the first franchise on the Wirral. She's got 11 plus. She was like, whoa, not a problem at all. I then sold franchise after franchise. Obviously, we hit lockdown. He cancelled the GCSEs, not a problem. My business applied to be part of the National Tutoring Programme. Boris went, I'm having Sharon. I can work with her. She's brilliant. So we became an NTP provider, delivering tuition in the day, setting up classes after school. So now we've got Connexus Tuition, Gloucester, St Albans. We're in Yorkshire. We've got them all over the Midlands, because I've systemised and set up a business that allows people to do what they're good at, which is the talking to parents, your tutors, your fundamentally educators. And you know what? Even when I'm still onboarding parents, because I still run 2 classes a week. You know why I run 2 classes a week? On a Monday and a Tuesday. So tonight at 3:30, I'll be at Lim Rugby Club. I'll be at Lim Rugby Club in the function room, because that's where we run it from. And I'll have a whiteboard and I'll have 6 kids in front of me, because I love tutoring. I really, they've just started an inspector calls and I'm all over it. I'm all over it. And I've got those kids and they'll say to me, are you a tutor here? Of course I am. All right, because it's like a company now, isn't it, Connexus? Do you know the boss? I'm like, I hear she's a very attractive woman for her age. Okay. I'm tutoring because I love it. Took 2 parents on this week. Obviously, it's now like, hiya, it's Harvey's mum, Archie's ready. No problem at all, Mandy. Do us a favour. Go on the website, click on find a class, click on link, enroll here, bang, straight into Tutor Cruncher. That will then automate her an email for her Go Cardless that she will sign up to. Because if he doesn't sign up to Go Cardless, you don't come in. And then all I have to do is speak to the mum, speak to Archie, and magic happens in between. And it isn't that expensive, because what I'm paying per month for software packages is nothing compared to the most important commodity I have, which is my time. My time is my commodity. And everything that happens that the parent then has to do sets clear boundaries. We have a lovely tool called Manula. And Manula is, you can host little manuals on them. Okay, so we've done a parent manual and it's a URL link. Welcome to Connexus. This is what to expect at your class, what to bring, whether we do tuck shops, and we host a little welcome pack on a Manula. So they click on it. What happens if my child doesn't attend? Here are my terms and conditions. Go down a rabbit hole. And the last piece of advice I'm going to give you, because I'll open up for questions, that's no problem at all, is this. Google is your friend. There is nothing in Google that you cannot get the answer to, right? So don't sit there and go, I haven't got a clue how to set up Go Cardless. I haven't got a clue. Google it. Go down a rabbit hole at 3 o'clock in the morning. How do I set up Go Cardless? How do I Google everything. I can't get over these people who go on community groups and ask what time the tip opens. Bloody Google it. It's all there for you. You want to set up some software, Google. God, if I'd have had half of this, I wouldn't have got into the mess I did. I wouldn't have had money coming out. I should be doing about 3 years in prison, me, probably for tax evasion, because I didn't even, this isn't being recorded, is it? No, I'm only joking. But no, at that point, I was all over the show. You don't have to be anymore. Let software drive your business. Let software do what you need to do. And you do what you do best, which is me at 3:30 tonight. You're right, Archie. Come on, kid. Let's get all this sorted. This Macbeth business, piece of cake. Come on, sit down. So that's how you scale. Give parents notice, set your boundaries. If they want you, they'll stay and they will accommodate what you want them to do. If they go, they go. Find the people who want what you've got on offer and don't be frightened to do that. Realize that your commodity is not just your subject. That's something that you do. Your commodity is your time. And the minute you do that, start to embrace software. Don't be frightened of it. It is not expensive, but it's going to save you time. Right, got about 10 minutes left now. Does anybody want to ask anything? By the way, if you want to ask anything about my son, he's fine. He's not psychologically damaged. He's at Manchester University. He's got a girlfriend. He's fine. All right. Still won't sell. Still trying to get him a job, but he won't do it. Right. Anybody got anything to ask? Julia, would you like to field some questions for me?
Okay. Put your hand up, please, if you'd like to share or ask Sharon anything. Absolutely fabulous, high-powered session. The chat's been buzzing. Darling. And in social, oh, fantastic. Anita, just right, go for it.
Hi, Sharon. That's been really, really good. Really, really, really informative. Thank you so much. I just have a quick question about how you increased, how you advertise for tutors, and also did you advertise your services through sort of getting in touch with parents directly? How did you go about scaling from sort of kitchen table situation to being in that venue?
There's two types of advertising. There's two types of marketing. There is casting your net and a fish waiting to be caught. Bear with. Casting your net is leafleting, putting a banner up. Casting your net is doing a boosted Facebook post, because you are casting a net, hoping to catch some fish who are wanting to be caught. So the usual, okay? So I did the old school. There wasn't a community shop I didn't have either my leaflet in. There wasn't a single hairdressers, because I knew who I wanted to target. And I littered my community with my marketing material, old school.
Cool. Yeah.
What I also did was I had a really good Facebook page that didn't just come up with a load of memes, like inspirational quotes, because I had nothing to do. I used it to sell. I used it to put my face out there, because I got over it. I put my prices on because people liked it. People are frightened of prices.
Yeah.
So I always put my prices on. I always put a timetable of where I had slots, and I had a good Facebook group. But what I also realized was that's casting a net. Mm-hmm. Where was I if somebody was looking for a tutor? They look in their phones. So one of the best apps that you can have is Google My Business. Google My Business is where you put that little red pin. So you know where when you type in takeaway near me, and there'll be like the top 5 takeaways with red pins. Red pin. You can anonymize your address. Okay, you can move that red pin once you get it. Okay. But when somebody typed in tuition near me, I popped up because I was on Google My Business, and I posted on Google My Business each week locally from wherever I was.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to use Google My Business and get the most out of it, where do you think your answers lie? In Google.
In Google. Excellent.
Google. Is this meta? Googling how to work Google My Business?
That is meta.
Okay.
That is meta. Yeah.
So Google My Business, I was on Tutor Hunt.
Okay.
Every time somebody typed in looking for a tutor, I was there.
Yeah.
But I was also casting my net out as well in my local community.
Yeah.
So I used Facebook, I used Google My Business, I leafleted, I knew exactly where my audience would be. Hairdressers. I had cards that I used to tuck in the ladies' toilets in the really nice wine bars, because I wanted someone who could afford me, and not many can, darling. Right, next one.
Excellent. Next question, nice one, Anita. Thank you. Ambika would like you to go back to that transition that you made from one-to-one to group tutoring. Can you give us another 3 minutes on that? We've got 2 more questions lined up, Mandy and Serena, and we will stop in 4 minutes.
What I needed to do was convince them I wasn't doing it to make money for me. Okay, because a parent doesn't want to know that they're having to shift their child so that you can make £80 an hour, not 30. Okay, so it wasn't about saying I'm going to group tuition because I've got a waiting list. I'm going to group tuition because it's better. I'm going to put your children in a group who are of the same ability, who have got the same syllabus, and it's better for your child, because do you know what? It's grueling being sat one-to-one for an hour with one voice. It is better. And that's how I framed it, not because I want to make more money, which was actually the reason. But what I did was I said, look at the benefits for your child. Okay. And what I did was I offered them a bit of a discounted deal, which is, and if you cancel, I'm not going to charge you, or I might only charge you half price. But I made it all about how it benefited them and their child. And then what I said was, try it. Please get your child to try it for 3 weeks, not 1 week. Give it a crack for 3 weeks. Well, I was like a CBeebies presenter. I was feeding them. I had my whiteboard up at the cooker. We had a game of boy girl going on, high-fiving. They made friends, sorted. So once I convinced the mother it was for the educational reason, not just because I wanted a bit more money, and to give it a go. And if at the end of the 3 weeks the kid didn't like it, fine. But at the end of the 3 weeks, I'd phone her and then she'd go, yeah, that's fine, we'll stay.
Excellent. Ambika, I'm so glad you asked that, because that was such a helpful mind shift to the priorities of the client rather than your priorities, and really focusing on the benefits and on over delivering. Thank you. Mandy wants to ask you, Sharon, about cancellations. Cancellations for a 4 o'clock appointment when the child has just been fetched from school. Do we bill for that if the child is not feeling well?
Yeah. Yeah, because you're paying for my time. If you give me 48 hours notice, that's no problem at all. But unfortunately, and this was the line I used to always use, as a small business in trying times. As a small business in trying times, unfortunately, I'm going to have to ask you to honour the hour.
Honour.
You can't book an hairdresser's appointment these days without paying a deposit. It is what it is. Unfortunately, as a small business in trying times, I am going to have to charge you for the session. Sorry. But what I'll do is next week, I'll give you a little pack of work that we would have covered. I'll give you 4 worksheets to shut you up.
Very nice. Serena, last question. Go for it. Take yourself off mute first. No, we'll do it. Go ahead.
I already do groups, but it's called Serena's Tuition, and I'm Serena, and it's very much, without sounding like the big I am, it's very much about me. So I'd love to go bigger, but can I run Serena's Tuition when I'm outsourcing my teaching to someone who's not also called Serena?
Then change the name of your business.
But it's a great name, and it's like known now. People are saying it, you know. I've been 2 years I've been going.
Then stick with it. Stick with it.
So what do I need to do? Make sure that they're trained. You said
okay.
Yours.
So you are going to get a pushback because they want you. And it is very, very typical when the founder of the business has got more energy. In the first instance, one of the nice ways to do it is put them on a rotation. So they have 1 week with you, 1 week with the new one, 1 week with you, 1 week with another one. Because again, it's all about the experience for the child. We don't want it to become stale. We'd like them to have a range of our superb tutors. So and I still do it on my classes, we have a 2-week timetable because the mums say, oh, they prefer you, Sharon. Yeah, no, but they get me twice and then they have other tutors and then twice again. So as the founder, always let them see you and have you, but you don't have to have the same group every week.
And do you plan those sessions that are delivered by others?
No,
no.
Plan their own, because tuition is led by the child, not by the tutor. So other tutors come prepared, not planned. You get them QTS, you have them so that they understand the exams, and you train your tutors, you pull them together on Zoom calls and you teach them how you do it.
Yeah.
I always start by saying you split it down into 15-minute chunks. Put your pens down, have a game of Hangman if they're dying, play a game where they all got a Werther's original. All of these are the kind of things that you're teaching them. What makes you great? And you've got to try and get that across to them.
Fab. Thank you very much.
Okie doke, no problem.
Excellent. Well done, Serena. That was an excellent question to finish on. Scaling is important, and our own personality is important, and using that with intention. And also this message about understanding our time and valuing it. So I'm going to thank Sharon. Thank you, Sharon.
No problem at all. You can find me on the Life After Teaching Facebook group. I'm on LinkedIn. If you need anything, connect with me. Send me a friendship request, because I don't have a pathological fear of self-promotion, darlings, anymore. Because I know my work. If you need me for anything, drop me a message and I'll help you in any way I can. And I hope that was a swift hour, because I'm not 50p a minute anymore. I can tell you that for nothing, kids.
It flew by, Sharon. Thank you so much for the generosity of your input and your personal experience. It was delivered like a pro. Thank you. Ludo, you've got 2 promotional videos to share with us before we switch gears into the insights, the Nudge Insights mindfulness sessions.
Wonderful. The first, following on from the theme of Sharon's talk, is via a Tutor Cruncher. So we'll just play that. I hope this sound is good. My internet is a little bit dodgy, so do bear with me.
Are you running a tutoring company? Do you spend most of your time lost in spreadsheets, creating invoices and doing admin? Don't you wish you had more time to grow your business and improve your services whilst keeping track of everything you currently do? Of course, you could hire more administrative staff, but there must be a better solution. Here to help. Tutor Cruncher is web-based tutoring business management software that will streamline management your company. How? Let's look into that. Tutor Cruncher will put all the information together that you currently work with, schedule lessons, organize your tutors, students, and locations, produce up-to-date business analytics and statistics, send automated emails to clients and tutors, automate your invoicing and payroll systems, and have tutor, parent, and pupil logins. But there's more. Tutor Cruncher is a secure cloud-based system, so you get all this and much, much more from any device, anytime, anywhere in the world. Sign up today, www.tutorcruncher.com, and watch us transform your business.
So you can find out more about Tutor Cruncher just there. And just before we move into the Nudge Education Insight sessions, we will be bringing you a short advert about our courses. Julia, do you want to just talk about upcoming course dates?
Absolutely. We're starting next week. We have a level 3 award in education and training, specially for tutors, launching next Monday. And we would love to have you as part of that. We only have 30 places in total, and they're filling up fast, and we'd love to have you on board. So if you want to find out more about that, you can either go to our website, qualifiedtutor.org, or you can pop in to the discovery rooms. You can sign up there. I've just put it in the chat now. And you'll be able to speak with Chrissy and sign up for the course right there and then. I think she has a discount code for you, so it might be worth finding out about that. Ludo, can you press play, please?
Welcome to Qualified Tutor. We are very proud of this course that we've put together because we know it works. The course will be delivered by me, Julia Silva. I'm a senior leader in a primary school. I'm a tutor and I'm a mother. I wrote this course with Adrian Conway. Adrian has 30 years of school experience, most recently a senior leader in a large school in Cumbria. We wrote this course as a transformational course, a course that will affect the way that you think. We've built it into a cohort model so that you'll be learning alongside other people, because we know that that will make it much richer and more effective for you, support your thinking and help you to learn from each other and gain the support that you need, and also to give to others and give them the support that they need. We are, after all tutors around here.
So do get in touch, please. We would love to help you to become qualified tutors and to be a part of the change that we are leading in tutoring. Welcome to Hannah and welcome to Mandy. You are going to be running our Nudge Insights session for us today. We'll be finishing at 1:30. Oh no, not you today, Mandy. Sorry, my mistake. Tomorrow, I was preparing for tomorrow. Hannah will be finishing at 1:30 today. So we're really, really glad to have this session with you now to help us to centre ourselves and make sure that we are looking after ourselves as well as our students. Over to you.